aside.
He's going to give.
Hello, come inside, come on. I'm waiting. The Reuven is here today?
No, that's him.
Okay. Okay, everyone that doesn't have a paper, pages should come over to me. Okay. Yes. There's one page which has everything in it. I gave her the whole thing, but there's one page that has everything in it. What I'm going to speak today with. Hopefully. Some may be a little bit outside, but mainly that's the basis what I'm speaking about today. Everybody has? Rabbi Menashe, do you have Rabbi Menashe? You have the paper with Gemara Botzer? Kufay Gimel? I'm the Dafka. Because here I want to see the Rashbam, I want to build the whole sheet of things. Explain what's going on. Okay. The Siyata Dishmaya. Today, with the help of Hashem, our goal, what do we want to gain of this year? We want to gain, the Pnei Yeshua has few kashas on our Gemara. Yeah, moving for you, David. So you can see my face, but if I move this way, other people don't see my. So maybe you can lower this thing, lower a little bit, then where's Rabbi Yosef? Not here. It's just too high, I can't see the faces of David and Yurim and Nurim. Take it a little bit lower. Make this a little bit lower. Good. Great. Okay. So you can go a little bit distant, further away. So be careful. No, it's on the edge. Yes. Good. Great. Now I can see. Good. So first of all, what is our goal? Our goal today is to understand the concept, the machinery, how olive works, the Guarantor works, and how we adopt this concept to marriage. There's a few variations, few ways how to solve it. So in order to understand that, we have to understand what is how Guarantor works, and how we adopt it to marriage. Yes. Sagi, בוא יש לי דף בשבילך. So I'm excited today. I want to explain a chidush that came to my mind. And concept I already said it 30 years ago in my book, when I was in Pachon. But a little bit deeper, I hopped it today, yesterday, a few days ago, 3 days ago, whatever, a few days ago. And as more think about it, I think that's the truth. That's the way to explain the concept. Okay? So, it's important. Melech, do you have paper? Yes. Good. This is our goal today. Omar Rove. Look inside, please, inside the papers and top of the page. Omar Rove, Rove says, 10 mon and a ploni. You should give 100 zuz to ploni. The woman says to the guy who is her boyfriend, a future husband, give 100 zuz, which is wages of half a year wage, a lot of money. Give 100 zuz to ploni. V'kadesh ani lechon, I'll marry myself to you. So she spoke, and he gave. So Rashi said,
what's he gave?
He gave to that guy.
Doesn't say gave.
Right? Doesn't say. She asked, give. And the law is Mekudeshet, she's married. So what do you think? She just said give and she's married by just saying that?
Yeah, could be.
Could be. But it makes sense to you?
I could explain how it makes sense. Then simply doesn't, but you can, it is way
Okay,
to
very good.
understand it.
Very good.
I have any way to-
So let's see what Rashi says.
Rabbi, so in those days, women could propose to men?
Yes, sure, all the time, before and now. Women's rights always was there. The mother of King David, she ran the kingdom. She was the biggest businesswoman. That's what we say in Shishchai. Right? She had ships. She was the head of it, the whole ship crew of buying and selling. And King David, Salomon Torah, the mother of King Solomon, the wife of King David. Yeah. Women, if they have the power, they can do it. Rashi says. Rashi says, when the husband gave the money to that third guy, he told her, Iskachli, marry me. So Rashi says that he gave, and when he gave, he told her, marry me. So all the Rishonim explain why we need a husband to speak. Otherwise, it will be him giving and she spoke. There's no san huva omroi, which is a or zero on one side of the Gemara, or is a suffix. We learned in the previous sugya. So therefore, in order to remove that, he needs to speak too. But Rashi is also saying something else. Rashi says something which relates to the Pnei Yeshua's problem. What does Rashi says? When he gave him, he spoke. Which means he spoke at the time of giving and not after the giving. Because you're going to have two options. You're going to have the woman says, give money to this guy and I'll marry you. And the guy gives, not in front of her. He comes back to her and he says, listen, I gave and I want to exchange your receivement of guarantor to marriage. Or something like that, like the Yeshua explained. I mean, no, Rashi says it happened right there then. He said she told him, give the money to this guy and I'll marry you. And when he gave the money to that guy, he told her, I'm marrying you. So it happened in the same time of the giving. So he went back and he spoke, like all the Rishonim explained, which is not like a suki. We already learned previous suki. That's a side point for us now.
Ron brings it.
Ron brings it, I know. And we spoke about it. But the point is, our interest today, our subject is that it happened in the same time of the giving. While the husband was giving the money, he spoke. Not after, while he gave it. So then what happened? Let's see. Happened Mekudeshet. She's married. Rashi says married, Mekudeshet. Let's see Rashi. Rashi says Ve'af agav, and even though the loimati ano loyodo, even though there was no pleasure to her. So here's a very important Rashi. Although the Gemara says it, but in the Gemara it's not necessarily that's the Chiddush of Rav. If Rav brings down in the words Mekudeshet, even though she didn't receive pleasure, the even though seems to be that's the Chiddush of Rav. Rav is saying if the woman told the husband give money to a third person, and I'll be married to you, and when he gives it, he says I'm marrying you. The Chiddush is that she's married, even though she really received the pleasure. That's the Chiddush. Rashi defines to us that that's the Kiddush. Okay? That's the Kiddush. There's many different ways how to say the Kiddush of Rav. We'll see soon, after Bezrat Hashem, we're going to learn the kashas of the Pnei Yeshua. It's not so simple. What's the Kiddush of Rav? The Ritvo asked, Yoshua, everybody wants to find out what's the Kiddush of Rav. But Rashi defined. Rashi told us. Even though she didn't receive, even though the woman did not receive pleasure, the pleasure didn't come to him. He didn't say that she didn't receive pleasure, even though the pleasure didn't come to her hands pleasure. That's what it said. Let's see, continue a little bit more.
It should be an object. Why you ask me to talk about his hand? This is an object to hand. What the hand mean what?
Hand means her. It's a concept. I'm saying your hand means to your domain, to you.
We could assume this is an object.
What?
We could assume this is an object.
But pleasure is not an object. Even though it didn't receive pleasure to her hand, so it means the pleasure of the object.
Yes.
Okay, very good. Very good, Yoshua. I like that. Very good. Let's continue on. Midin Orev, from the law of Orev. Orev lav aval gam. Orev, even though the loimati ano liyo, didn't come pleasure to his hands. Kameshabed nafshi, obligates himself. Aite tanami, this woman also. Aval gam, even though the loimati ano liyo, no pleasure enter her hand. Kameshabdo umekani nafsho. Here the word, the Gemara adds one more word, mekanya. Doesn't say kameshabdo nafsho, kameshabdo mekanya.
The Gemara says that language.
I'm talking about the Guarantor of the Gemara.
Oh, I think reading Rosh.
I'm reading the Gemara.
Reading the Gemara, sorry.
The Gemara says, a guarantor, he obligates himself even though he didn't get any pleasure. A woman, even though no pleasure came to her hands, she obligates and she acquires herself. So somebody asks you, a woman acquires or the husband acquires her? What does it mean? Why the Gemara says, the Gemara should two ways, cut out the word obligate. Just she acquires herself. She receives something, she acquires herself. What do we have to say? Meshabed obligates. And or cut out the word acquire, just obligate herself to be married. So what does obligate and acquire herself? It sounds not a big deal. But when we're going to go to the depths of it, we see and we want to make the similarity would be big enough community to translate those words.
Two things.
Two things. It says two things. We want to know what is that those two things. Okay, we want to explore that with the help of Hashem. Let's see Rashi. Unbelievable Rashi. The third Rashi. Rashi says, Midin Oref, from the law of Oref. Now, I want to ask all of you guys, Oriel, do you have a paper?
We have here.
Good. I'm very happy. Look in the Rashi. You know how to read Rashi, right? So Rashi, show Moshe, where is it? Midin Oref, second line. From the law of Oref, on top of the page. Mimashe matzinu b'Torah, from what we found in the Torah. Sha'or mishtabed lamalve, that the guarantor obligates himself to the lender. Anu yecholim limod, we can learn. You with us? You don't sit. We can learn. Hey, Rabbi, come closer. Okay? So let's analyze this Rashi. This Rashi is very, to me, when I read it, was very weird. Why? What bothered me? Rashi says, what does it mean from the law of Oref? He's not saying that we have here the law of guarantee. The woman guaranteed herself, and he exchanged a guarantee for marriage. He's saying, from what we found, a guarantor obligates himself, we can learn. It's like, but here a work, she's married from the law of Oref means here the law of Arevus of guarantees happening, or from what we found in the Torah that a guarantor can obligate, we can learn. It's a little bit different. Okay, it's really a push off to the Bnei Yoshua. Again, those that know what I'm talking about, but I'm reading it again. Rashi says, what does it mean from the law of Oref, from the law of guarantor? For what we found in the Torah, that a guarantor obligates to the lender, we can learn. First of all, what bothered me was when we could. Many times I used to stay next to my father, and I used the language. So what the Rashba could is saying, the Rashba's could. What do you mean could? Give me a slap in my face. If he says that could, the word could means it's not so 100%. You know, the Rif used the language anu loimdim, we learn. Yecholim, we could. Could means you could yes, could not. It's a weaker language. Why the Rashi, which every word is precious like gold and diamonds, why Rashi is saying could learn, which means it's not really the same. From what the fact we find that a guarantor can obligate himself, from there we could learn. What's going on? So now we're ready to explore this concept. Let's see. Before we move on, I want to read the Rosh. Everybody has the Rosh. The Rosh says, when he gave the money 100 zuz to that Ploni Omar, he told Ariel Kodesh, he told the woman, you married to me, with the money that I gave the Ploni. Because we know, so the word gave means past tense. And when he gives the money, he says, seems to be now. So if you follow the last words, I gave, it's a past tense. And when it says, when he gives, he said, when he gives to a Ploni, he says, means at that time. So the Pnei Yoshua takes the last words as a face value, as it could be even after. But if you look at the beginning of the land, Rosh is in the same time. Okay, keep that in mind.
Rashi in the Rif doesn't say Yecholim.
What?
Rashi in the Rif doesn't say Yecholim.
I said that.
I didn't say that.
That's what I said. I said Rashi in the Rif doesn't say the word Yecholim, but now Rashi says Yecholim. So that's what bothered me, the word Yecholim. That's exactly what I said. What?
Sorry.
I said it in public, no? I think I said it.
Yeah.
I said it.
Yeah.
Yes, takes out the word Yecholim. So the word Yecholim is a weak language. So that's the requirement, investigation. Okay. It is Rashi, but Rashi in the Rif is being taken out. So it means that if Rashi said it, he meant what he said. Rashi, whatever he says, he means the exact means. There's no dill-dally, there's no roundabout. It's exact. Every word is exact, intentionally, and he knows what he just is. A problem of us. We have to search and just figure out. Okay. Now I want to start with the Ritva. Okay? I want to start with the Ritva. Starting with the Ritva. The first Ritva is printed here on the page. Orev lav avagad. A guarantor, even though the loimati ano leyod mishtabed. The Gemara says, if a woman tells her husband, give money to 100 zuz to Ploni, I'll marry you, you know what it means, how it works from the laws of Orev. Orev, even though he didn't receive pleasure, he obligates himself. The Milshah says, the Ritva asks the question. Pirush, explanation. Lav lemeimra, not to say, the loimati leishumano, that he didn't receive any pleasure. This is a very hard line, the next 4 words. The imken is so, b'may mishtabed. With so, how does he obligate himself? This is the key piece of the Ritva, which made a revolution in all the Rishonim and everything. I'll explain what's his kasha. We don't know his kasha yet fully, but I want to say his words. His words is saying as follows. Wait a second. What's going on? The Gemara says, the same way a guarantor obligates himself to be a guarantor without receiving any pleasure, also a woman. What do you mean it's not true? How can a guarantor obligate himself with no pleasure? So he says, doesn't mean lav lemein delomati shuman didn't come any pleasure. Why? If it means literally any pleasure, if the Gemara really means that the guarantor did not receive any pleasure, 0, im ken if so, b'may nishtabed, what he obligates himself with. This question is the question that all the Rishonim ask. And the Ritva gives an answer, the Rashba gives an answer, the Ramban gives an answer, the Rambam gives an answer, the Ran gives an answer. Everybody explains around, dancing around to explain this concept. Okay? It's very important. So let's see what the Ritva's answer. But his kasha is very hard. It needs investigation what he's asking. Because if you're going to learn Bezrat Hashem together with me today, the Gemara in Masechet Baba Batra, page 173, we see it's not true. And Orev can obligate himself with words alone, with no pleasure. That's a Yeshua's kasha. And Orev can guarantee himself with words alone. So what really he means, B'may nishtabed, Orev can obligate himself with a word alone.
Which words?
Words.
The word says words?
Words, yes, bedigo. We'll see, let's learn together. Beloi kinyu, no obligation, nothing. So really what the Ritva is asking our type of Orev, which is a deficiency of a smachta. We'll see what is a smachta, the concept. He cannot obligate himself without receiving something. So by my mishtab. And he gives the answer of the Gemara. So let's see what he says. Ela loimar rather mean to say, the afal gav that even though the loimati leyode anoas amos shotzi amalve did not come to his hands, this to you, Yoshua, right? Olivier, listen. Afal Gav, even though, even though a guarantor did not come to his hands the pleasure of the money, the pleasure of money that the lender took out, that pleasure of that money, he didn't come to his hands. Didn't come to the hands of the guarantor, not money, and not equivalent to money, not value of money. Even though so he obligated himself with what? Ba'ano, with pleasure, the matilei that comes to his hands, that he led this guy upon his belief. You hear this? He lent someone money and upon his belief. Da'ano bechol duchta, this is very hard to understand. That pleasure in anywhere in the Shas, chashuvo kekesef, is considered like money. The Parishon Kamaduchtu, we said many times that schok lefona, rekod lefona, v'kamshitoy is considered pleasure, considered money. So here, the guarantor received pleasure. Ochanami here also. Even though the woman did not receive the pleasure of the money itself, of the 50, of the 100,000 zu, or the 100 zuz, mekanin afsho, she acquires herself. Ba'iyano, with that pleasure, the shavya pruto, with that pleasure, which value as pruto, even though it's not 100 zuz. 100 zuz is 100,000 prutot. 100 zuz, okay? But the fact that he relied on her and he gave the money upon her words, she acquired herself with that pleasure, the shavya pruto, this value pruto. Why? Why is pruto? The yoiv money le ploni b'dibur, we gave 100 zuz to Ploni in her words, based on our words. Based on your words, I gave 100 zuz away. You got something. It's worth something. Let's say he gave away one pruto, she got definitely less. You hear this, Moshe? If he gave away a pruto, she didn't receive a pruto, it's less. But if he gave away 100 zuz, it's definitely upon her words, she feels good about herself. Her words worth something. So that pleasure is worth a pruto. Like we found by Orem, that's considered a value of pruto. We value by pruto. That's why she's married.
Why she has to pay the money back? And if the guy doesn't pay it back?
What?
Why does she get hung on? She might have to pay it back.
Who says it's a
Reb
loan?
Menashe asked a question, and Rabbi Thaisher answered you very well. No, very serious. But both are not so correct. The Ritva, when he starts the Gemara, it was not printed. I had a doubt in my mind to print it or not, but I decided not to print it.
What did you say, Rabbi?
The reason,
Who says it's a loan?
I'll explain to you what's going on.
Money's a loan, not a loan.
Because
Money.
I didn't want to get into that world, which is my final next year, will be actually next week, to explain the Rambam sheet and all that. But first I want to explain the concepts this week. But the Ritva says, what is the case? 10 more leponi. Give 100 Jews to this guy. Give away as a present or give away as a loan. When I talk about from the law guarantor, that can mix us up and says, no, give away means not a gift, means gives away a loan. The Ritva says, lo yishno matona, lo yishno alvo. But yes, that's the Ritva here. One piece before this piece. But all the Rishonim don't learn like the Ritva. All the Rishonim learn that our case is only a gift. That's a simplicity case of all the Rishonim. The Ritva is the only one that says it works even with a loan. In the end, I'll explain it. This is not my shir today to
The
explain.
rate is comparably to the loan?
What?
How is the rate compared to a loan?
A loan, when I ask someone to lend someone money, I got a pleasure that I guaranteed myself because I received the pleasure. He believed me. He risks his money upon my words. So there's risking the money upon my words or giving away money totally upon my words, even more. It's more of a pleasure. So the pleasure is there from the law of Orem.
What if it's a gift would it require a guarantor at all?
Oh, it's not a guarantor. That's the answer. Here, that's what I said. That's Pshat and Rashi. Here is not a guarantor by a woman. It's when the fact we found by how the guarantor obligates himself from the borrower, because he received pleasure. That's the reason, that's the siba moereres, that's the reason that aroused the obligation. With that reason, I can marry a woman with. Because she received pleasure, so you need to give a woman money, she received that pleasure. That's the liud. That he gave him matana, yes. A matana. A matana alone, because the Yid himself says even alone. Leave that alone, the Ritva. According to most Rishonim, all Yeshiva say the Ritva, I didn't find any other Yeshiva say the Ritva, it's only a gift, yes. The Ritva himself even alone. You have to explain the Ritva's shita on its own. Yes.
Can I ask you a question before?
Go ahead, yes.
Before this step we just talked about now, he said
Yes.
the guy did not receive money or Shabbat Kesef. Now, when he used the Lashon Shabbat Kesef. Now, how do you understand that Lashon Shabbat Kesef?
Yes.
What Shabbat Kesef could be pleasure.
Right?
So how can he say Shabbat? He did not receive Shabbat Kesef, and now he
Yes, and Shvei Kesef.
he went back and forth.
Right. What does it mean?
So if he said
He said he didn't receive Kesef or Shvei Kesef, and then he says he did get it.
So it's very interesting. That's
Very interesting.
tricky.
So what's the answer? Very tricky. The answer is he didn't receive the Kesef or Shvei Kesef of the full 100 Jews, which is 100,000 shekels. He received 1 shekel. There's a big difference.
That's not Shabbat Kesef. Shabbat Kesef is 1 shekel. That's Kesef.
No.
That's
Kesef and Shvei Kesef, he said he didn't receive. And then he says he received pleasure, listen, which is Chashuva Kesef, is considered Kesef. So before he said he didn't receive not Kesef, not Shvei Kesef, and then he says he did receive pleasure, which considered is a value as Kesef.
And wouldn't it be called Shabbat Kesef?
I don't know. This is what his words.
Okay.
So what he does say, clearly, the rationality of this is, he didn't receive the full amount of value of the whole money, the full money or the full value of the whole money, rather received the pleasure which considered money, and then he says even a pruta. That's what it means he didn't receive. When the Gemara says he didn't receive, means he didn't receive the full. But he received a value of 1 pruta, 1 pleasure, 1 pruta. Okay? First of all,
What's pshat in the ritual? Arev always has enjoyment. Sometimes the Arev feels so bad for it.
Rabbi, I'm so happy you asked this question. You know why? Because this is the nail of my class today. I want to explain this concept.
Give the question again.
I'll say this question. This is a question that bothered me for many, many, many years. And in the last few days, I think I found an answer. And it will solve a lot of the problems here. The question on the table is, and why I was happy is because most Yeshiva Bocher, most Avrichim, which have to run the Gmachim, and they have to sign, people have to sign for them a guarantor, or they have to sign themselves back to those people who favor, they know that it's a harsh, they rather the guy that came to me, I'm stuck with it, okay, what can I do? I want to help the poor guy, or if he doesn't help me, I want to help me. You know, really, when you sign a guarantee, most of the time, you're stuck with it, because you can't tell the guy no. Okay, but you'd rather run away with it. And if, let's say, you felt a couple of times you have to pay for it, he says, listen, I would love to sign, but I can't pay. He says, but still sign it, because you're not going to pay. I'm going to pay it. My wife works. She has a certain amount of money every month. Don't worry. You don't have to rub the pig. But that's a reality. Right? Everybody knows here in this room that I'm married, this and that, they know that when you sign a guarantor, you'd rather not even happen. So what kind of pleasure are you talking about? It's a pain in the neck. It's a thorn in the neck. And then a toe. You know, we're not even getting into this story. So what pleasure are you talking about? It's not pleasure. You'd rather run away the whole story. Right, Rabbi Rebero? Is it true or not? The reality. Let's go to reality. You know yourself. I experienced myself 100 times this story. So what's going on here? Psh, with the help of Hashem, today we'll give you an answer. Okay? I want to give an answer, but after we learn the Pnei Yeshua well, it's kashas, then we have to read back the Yishoinim with the help of Hashem. Psh, we find an answer. I think we have a beautiful answer. Yes, Rabbi Yosef. You rubbed your neck, your throat, just stop. You want to ask me? What? I rather not. I'll tell you why. Because we'll put heat, people fall asleep. I can put up there. I'm laughing. it's a little bit cold, people are up. When it gets warm, if you take your hat, okay, take your hat away, like this, you're not gonna fall asleep. There's also heat and also a hat. Okay, if you're cold, okay. I know when people are skinny, they get cold very much. I lost a couple of kilos, I feel the difference. I'm sure if I learned more kilos, okay, I can feel for you. Okay. Let's go back here. Let's get the fire tonight. Not fire today, the fire of the Torah. The heat of the Torah. Okay. Yosef Shalom. Does anyone here help to translate what's going on? I want you to sit next to someone that can help you to translate. Binyamin, can he sit next to you and help him translate a little bit? He doesn't understand my English. I don't just sit like a potato. People have to be involved in what's going on. Okay. Guys. So what we have two problems here on the table. Guys, on this ritva we have two problems. Okay? I want to represent two problems on the table on the ritva's points. The number one, he asked, Orev cannot be a guarantor with nothing. If he doesn't get any pleasure, like literally the Gemara says, Orev didn't receive any pleasure in his hand, he obligates himself. It cannot be face value. Because with what an Orev obligates himself, with nothing, so he says, he gets something. He doesn't get the full value of what the person gave upon his words, but he got pleasure of being, which is at least a value of fruta, that the guy relied on him, trusted him. He lent money on his belief, on his emunah. Same thing, a woman, she gets married, not with the full value of the money. Oh, so first of all, the kasha is not so simple. Who says an olah cannot obligate him with words alone? That's the kasha of the Yeshiva. Okay? And number two, we need to investigate. What comes out according to the ritva, very weird. She said, give 100 zuz to this ploni and I'll marry you. The simple meaning is she wants to get married with the full value of 100 zuz. Now he's saying no.
Who says that?
I say the simple meaning. You can argue about the simple meaning. Okay, I accept that it's not the simple. I think it's simple meaning. I'm not arguing with it. It's not my point. The point is, I want to clarify to make it clear what the Ritva is saying. According to the Ritva, she's not married with the full money, 100 zuz. She's married only with a pruta. As if she's saying, Teman employ me 100 zuz, and I marry you with a pruta. And he says, I'm married with a pruta. That's what it means here. Whatever the shuma is, but it's a pruta. What's an afkamina? If let's say she says, give him a pruta and I marry you, there's no pruta to get because the pleasure of relying on a woman to give a pruta is not worth a pruta. If I rely on a woman to give 100 zuz, which is a lot of money, so the fact I trust her is worth a pruta.
All he's saying is that it's enough to make the Kiddushin chal.
But, so the pleasure of relying on her is enough to make the Kiddushin chal, but you have to have it in there. There's weight of relying on someone on serious money. But if I rely on someone on little money, so who says that's worth a pruta? So it's already conditioned here. So that's bedavka. Lend 100 zuz is bedavka. It's not just a case. Maybe let's say not 100 zuz, will be 1 zuz. Maybe relying on someone to give 1 zuz is not enough of a pleasure of a pruta. Okay? Same thing is by a loan. A guarantor, if that's what it makes a guarantor to be guarantor by a loan, has to be only a loan of what? That the pleasure relying on him, it's value of a pruta. But if he only lends 1 shekel, give him a shekel, I'll guarantee it's nothing. Or no, some people told me, no, doesn't matter. He believes in me. Yes, he has a relation with me. I'm happy with the relationship. It's nothing with the amount of money is a relationship. Okay? And I think the bottom line, relationship counts with how much money you're willing to put for that relationship. So if it's one pruta, that doesn't make sense that we get a value of pruta. Okay? This is the bottom line. So we have to, this is a clarification. What do you want to say, Rabbi Menashe?
The guy doesn't want to give unless she says to him to give.
I agree.
What does that have to do with money, then? It's just he says, do it.
So he says do it. He said that he listens to you. I'm asking. The fact that he listened to you is value of pruta. Does it matter how much you give?
No.
Or does it matter? Okay. The Kiva Eger says it matters. The Rabbi Akiva Eger. Kiva Eger here was printed in the papers, the third page, look at the top. Those that have the papers. The Kiva Eger says that I'm bedafka shoving into the ritva to clarify the people's eyes. But we'll see in the end if that's what the ritva saying. That's what the Kiva Eger says here. It's in page Daf Hey above. Those are learn next week. Chazonish, the Kiva Eger Chazonish people should learn well next week. I want to focus this week on the Pnei Yoshua, okay? Pnei Yoshua. Omar Rove. People have the Pnei Yoshua? The Pnei Yoshua. Omar Rove, 10 monen leploini v'kadosh l'chom kodesh mizorah. Here.
Give me, I will take my telephone.
Umashma bepshitus. The Bnei Yoshua says, I can understand in simplistic way, the Afal God, that even though Shaloi Omar lo iskachili, he didn't tell her, marry me, Elo rather, La'achar shenosan money, after he gave her money, Leploini, afilu achim mekudeshes, even though so she's married, the Bnei Yoshua assume that since the Gemara didn't speak about the husband speaking back, just says the woman said, give 100 zuz, I marry you. But it doesn't say that when the husband gave, he says, I marry her. It doesn't say the Gemara, we filled it in. So when did the husband spoke? While he was giving or after he spoke? Since it's open, it's mashma even after.
What could it be when she said to him? What does it have to be?
When she said he didn't give it yet.
So what? Doesn't have to give it.
Can I say to a woman, I want to marry you, or before I give the money?
He could agree and say yes. When she says do this, he says yes. He's kind when he says yes, and therefore that he did at the moment she made the offer. And originally, it doesn't have to be later on.
But it requires even later on.
Okay, very good. Can a woman, wait a second, I want to relate to what he said. Can you have Omar Venosa? Can you have him speaking first and then giving? Does it have to be while he's giving the talk, right after, or can it be before? Can be even before. Oisek Biski Kiddushin, dealing with business of Kiddushin, can be before. So you're right. She says, give 100 zuz to Plon. He says, yes, I will do it and marry with that. And he gives. Also possible.
And the pleasure that she got.
Also possible. But it's possible always. Before, while, and after. That's a Yeshua's point. Since the Gemara didn't say when the husband spoke, the sky is open. It's all the time. Doesn't matter.
It's not supposed to be because it should be simply. The simply should be at when she said it. The Gemara says mikudesh. It should be right at the moment, not later on.
Ideally.
Okay.
Ideally.
But it can be at the same time. Rashi says even at the same time.
No, giving the money, but to be no.
Right.
Not
But
giving the money.
Rashi's saying.
Before giving the money.
I know that. I understand what you're saying. I agree to your point. It's a very good point.
And that the
Beautiful
power should
point.
be like that, not like he's saying.
But Rashi's saying even the time you gave the money, right? Comes the Pnei Yoshua and extends it even more. Doesn't say when. Be all cases. Normal cases while he's giving can be even after, right after. Doesn't say any differences. Then there's a problem. Now the Pnei Yoshua says, now we fall into a big problem. Why? Let's see Pnei Yoshua's kasha. Now what's important about this Pnei Yoshua, because the Pnei Yoshua's kashas are really a basic lumdus kashas that we ask back on all the Rishonim. All the Rishonim seems to be struggling to give an answer to explain our Gemara. And then Yeshua just cuts through and asks very simple, fundamental questions. And then we have to come back. Then he has his own answer. But forget about his answer, not forget about it. Yeshua is a big man. We want to know the Rishonim, how they relate to this question. The question are very serious, simple, fundamental questions. This is what we want to get. That's really what this is my goal. Why I want to read the Pnei Yoshua as a beginning move in the sugya. You hear this? Why the Pnei Yoshua is so important? Because you should have asked those questions yourself. As a lamdan, when you learn a concept of a sugya, you have to think yourself. The question that he's asking are really fundamental questions we have to ask ourselves. Afterward, the Rishonim ask and answer what they answer. This is really the problem. Let's see what he says. Kashili, I have a question to myself. Nehi truly. David, you have David, Rabbi David, you have a paper? If I'll be very happy if you can look inside. You attach to the words. Kashili. This is the third line in the Pnei Yoshua. Rabbi Menashe, Rabbi Menashe, Rabbi David. Where we hold me exactly, please. I'll appreciate it. Kashili, it's a question to me. Nehi truly. The Alfino Mi'orev, truly that we learn from Orev, from a guarantor. The Bechai governor in such a case, Mishtabed, he obligates himself. Vehi and she, Naaset Arev, she becomes a guarantor. You heard? She becomes a guarantor. It's a fact. Akati Milve, still it's a loan. Kavan, since the Bishat Kiddushin, the time of the marriage, Ein Obein, is not a reality. Biyat Ploni, in the hands of Ploni. What does he say? That's exactly, we lost. He's lost. This is what's the case. If the case is even, I want to explain. If the case is, she tells the husband, give money to someone, and I want to marry you. He gives the money to someone, and he goes back to her. He knocks on the door. Hey, Rachel, the love of my heart, I gave the 100 zuz to this guy you asked me for. Now I came to cash it. Okay, exchange, you guarantee to marriage, and if not, you guarantee for the money. I gave it because you said. So he said, in exchange, you marry me. Okay, so now let's do the marriage. She says yes.
Who said it was an exchange?
Oh,
Who said that?
who said that?
Yeah.
That's very good, Rabbi Chaim. This is exactly the point. Listen carefully. If it happened before the words, or while he's giving, you can ask who says an exchange. It's not an exchange. He gave her. Guarantor received pleasure. A woman received pleasure that relied on her. But if it's after he gave, he comes to her and he says, I want to marry you. He says, with what? Okay, I said give, and then what? I received pleasure, yes. I became a guarantor to pay it back. And now he says to her, I forgive you the guarantee, listen carefully, and I want to marry you. That's a loan. Since the money, listen carefully what Yeshua said. Listen.
Who said it's a loan? It's going to be a gift.
It's like a loan. Why? No. No, you're talking about physically what happened here. I'm not talking about that. I'm talking about that money or that pleasure, it's already a loan. If it's a past tense, it already happened. And with that, I'll explain to you, listen. When I want to marry a woman with pleasure, so there can be two positions. While I'm giving the pleasure, I want to marry her. Or after she received the pleasure, I said, don't pay me back what you gained for me. I'm going to exchange it for marriage. That's called a loan. That's what Yeshua calls a loan. That's the same concept of a loan. He said if it happened the same moment she received the pleasure, so that's a gift. He gave her money and for the marriage. But if he gives her money, he doesn't say marriage, like Pikodin. And then he says, listen, exchange it for marriage. It's a virtual money, pleasure. And the money is not anymore in the hands of Ploini. It's not paying. Even though he gave the Ploini as a gift, not as a loan. But he calls that, he says, Akati Milvahu. The gift that he wants to marry her with, it's a loan. Came on the Bishas Kiddushin, since in the time of the marriage, which was after, his word was after he gave. Ein no be'ein, the money's not in reality anymore, be out pointing, here's a point. So that gift that he's exchanging, that's called a loan. That's the cash of the Kiddushin. Again. So the Yeshua has an assumption that we talk about old cases. When she says, give 100 zuz, I marry you, and then what he did. Before he gave, he spoke to her. While he's giving, he's speaking to her. The Yeshua says, even after he gave, he comes back to her. He says, after, that cannot be. Because the pleasure is that he buy her, So it's like my money is by you, and I want to exchange it. That's a loan because the money's not paid anymore. And they already gave it away. It's finished, not mine anymore. So it's not the moment of the gift. It's really result of a debt from the gift, from the pleasure she got. That's called a loan. And you cannot marry with a loan. It's virtual. So you can't marry with it. This is the kasha of Yeshua, his beginning point. Now, this is very far out. I agree to what Reb Chaim is saying. Before I will hear what you want to say, just for the first point you meant. That for me, when I read the Gemara and I read Rashi, definitely it's a far out. I can understand Rashi extended while he's giving. Even the language of the Rosh, he says, while he's giving, he says the money I gave, and while he's giving, he's saying it. But to say that after he gave, he came to her and he spoke to her, that's a very far-fetched. And Ibn Yeshua holds that's a simple case. But it's not important for me so much if that's the diuk true or not, but in concept, we want to know, could it work or not? And Ibn Yeshua says, if I marry with that, it's considered I cannot marry with that. He has a way out. He said you could, and he says called Zanuas Mechilas. We'll see his final end. But all the Rishonim definitely did not go with this route. The Rikva, the Rosh, or the Ramban did not go with that route. Like Rashi, while he's giving, or before he gave, or while he's giving, he was saying Aram Mekodeshesli. So it's different. But Ibn Yeshua doesn't stop here. He says, if you're not going to say like me, the way my route, your route is definitely out. And he's going to launch her 2 S-300 bombs, okay? S-300 against all the Rishonim. And this is where we begin to think. After we're going to see his 2 kashas, on basically on all the Rishonim, and that's where he has his own route. We have to come back and ask, what the Rishonim hold, right? Give an answer. Yes, what do you want to be behind?
He's loaning her pleasure? Is that the point to him? He's loaning her pleasure?
He gave her pleasure.
And that was a loan? That pleasure.
If I didn't give you, I didn't say for what. If I give you pleasure, I didn't say for what. So then there's what could be a deposit. Could be a loan. Yes.
This is a deposit? How can you marry somebody?
And the Gemara says if I give a woman money, I didn't say for what, and 5 minutes later, 2 minutes later, 1 minute later, I say, listen, after talking to Dibu, I want to marry without money. The Gemara says it's a pikadon or loan. She has to agree that she wants to exchange it. And even then, it's alvo. That's the Gemara on page 12. We learned it before, this Gemara.
But she defines
So-
what the thing is. He didn't define it.
I know, but since he spoke after, so that, lichoiro, it's a loan. It's not necessarily, you can argue with it. And I'll tell you how you can argue. Because the money, what?
Loan can be loved up, but the point is that she got it in a different context.
Yes, that's what it meant. That's the point. She got it for a different company. He didn't speak yet about Kiddushin. She spoke, which is not the Balabai. He has to speak. So therefore, she got that. She got it's not muchach. So once it's not muchach, it's not in the context of Kiddushin. So it could be a loan, and it's gone by the time it comes to Kiddushin. It's already gone. It's already being given. So now, after being given, it's a virtual. It's a loan. At the moment, it's a gift. It's there, even though it's virtual. So let's see what he says. Now he says he wants to attack all the other Rishonim. Listen carefully, rabbis, bachurim, listen, guys. The Rashba and all the other poskim. Kosru, they wrote, the ivy that we're dealing, Sha'omar Lord, that he told, or the husband told the wife, Iskachili, marry me, Bahanozu, with this pleasure, Shenosati leploini moni, that I gave, past tense, ploni, 100 zuz avurech, for your sake. So which means it's not a loan, is the gift of matana. You received the money for that sake. Maybe I talked to you about it later on, but when you received it, was in the context of marriage.
When she received what?
The pleasure.
And when did she receive the pleasure?
When he gave the
When
guy
he gave the money.
on her
Well,
behalf.
according to him.
Yes. So why do we have to learn this from the concept of Orev? Kosav Aritva, the Ritva wrote, for 5 minutes we'll come back here. I'm sweating so. Fire of Torah. Let's continue on. Kosav Aritva was on the Chidush. The Ritva explained in his Chidush which we read, the same way a guarantor obligates himself through pleasure of relying on him. The same thing is here. This is the Ritva. comes to the Bnei Yeshua and he asks a very strong question. Apparently this to be wonder. You know the word wonder is a very strong question. I can ask a question, I can wonder. Wonder means I'm stunned. Doesn't make sense to me. For this, I don't need to bring the law of Orev, a guarantor. The pshita bekula sugya is simple in all the sugiyot. The eicha the anosha beputa bekudeshes, where the pleasure is shaveh puta, she's married. What do I need a guarantor to teach me that? We know everywhere that a pleasure is considered money. So we just bring an appraisal, and appraise if somebody rely on my words, and if it's value or not, put or not. So you need the law of Orev to teach me that.
There's different types of
No, so go to an appraisal, rabbinic appraisal, and appraise this pleasure, consider pleasure of marriage. When I need the law of Orev, just saying the law of Anah. She's married not from the law of Orev. She's married from the law of Anah, of Kesef. This is a very strong question. Guys, I want you to relate to this, it's very important. Because if you don't ask this question, you didn't begin to understand the Sukkah. So the Neshua's kasha is not a side kasha. He argues on all the Rishonim, he has his own pshat. But we have all the Rishonim, we must stick by them. So we have to come back, what they're saying. How did they learn? A very simple question. Why do I need to come from the law of Orev to teach me the laws of pleasure is considered kesef, choshev kesef? Did we know it all over Shas? Elamai, who says this pleasure is money? Bring an appraisal and see if it's worth money or not.
They have to define the giver of that pleasure.
Okay.
To evaluate. You can't just say, you have to
But
define
if you
it.
say it's pleasure, he says it's pleasure. The law. Don't say the law of Orev. Say the law of pleasure. She's married midin Anah, not midin Orev.
And where do you have a rule about that? Where do you have a rule? You have cases, but where do you have a general rule about that?
Okay. Very good point. Very good point.
No, but so where do you have a general rule? Not
Very good point. Very good point.
No.
Very good point. Listen. The Ritva says it. If you read the Ritva, the last two lines of the Ritva in the first column. He said, pleasure in every place is value as kesef. Like explained in a couple of places. The Ritva made that rule. Okay, I don't have to explain the rule. The Ritva made that rule. It is the rule.
Okay, but if he made a rule, so the Gemara doesn't have that rule. Yes.
So he's asking on the Ritva. You made the rule itself, so what I need Orev. It's pleasure. It's a rule of pleasure, not do with Orev. Tell me. I'm going to be pleasure, midin Orev. Not do with Orev. Pleasure. Pleasure don't do with Orev. Guarantor. Guarantor is a special, don't do with us.
If he's bringing a kash, he should bring it from a Gemara.
Wait. No, it's a lot of Gemaras like this.
Not a general, maybe specific.
No, but he says as many Gemaras like this. He says himself, can I explain in many places?
Specific cases, but even who made a general rule? Specific
The Ritva made a general rule.
Okay, but he's not
And all the Rishonim made a general rule. Not only the Ritva. I just show it in the page. Many Rishonim.
Against them. You have to be from the Gemara, not from Rishonim.
Okay. You can argue it's not a rule, and you have to give answer. I'm not saying your possibility is right or wrong. Go ahead and read, but the Ritva says that all the Rishonim say that's a rule. So we can take it as a given. Yes, what do you want to say?
It's not true, I'll tell you what the
What?
This hana is hard to appraise.
Okay.
It's not a real activity, it's a conceptual type of hana.
Okay. Schoich lefonai is also conceptual. The koi lefonai. Adaba der shiltoin. Also, here's an activity. I gave money. Also, here's an activity. I gave money away. I did an action.
That's something that people do. People pay people to be their advocates.
People pay people to convince someone to lend money. I did an action. I relied. It's pleasure. It's also pleasure people do all the time.
But gifts. We give gifts.
What? Yes. Yes, I know many people do that. Here, I gave you some money, please be my guarantor. You get other interest if you be my guarantor. Many times, I remember the Rosh Yeshiva of Hashem says, don't worry, go to him and be my guarantor because he owes me a lot. He gets other benefits from me. And so every day, right? So that's how it works. Yes, you pay sometimes people to be alone.
But the Rebbe said that if you have a machlokas,
Yes.
there's no
No machlokes Rishonim.
no force.
There's no machlokes Rishonim. This is a Bnei Yeshua.
No, because he's basing on the Rishon and to make a rule of Hanor from a general who like the Ritva.
Okay.
That the Ritvas when even all the
Yeah, all the Rishonim said that.
But further, the Rebbe said if anyone who says if they all say it, that means there's no Mefor's Gemara. There's no there's such a thing. They made it up. And then,
Right.
And therefore, so he should be asking a question from a Gemara, not from a Rish Stone.
Right?
And he
Because you can argue, I can agree to what you're saying. But Lamaisa, that's the fact.
Okay, that's
Why do we tell them to focus on it?
What?
Why do we tell them to sign this up?
Why I don't answer? Because I don't want to go into details. Okay, the deal will get stuck here. I know what I'm doing. And the Dafka is saying a rule. That's a rule. Finish. It's a rule. Many places. And it's not now counting the He made a rule, so I can follow him. The Ritva and Sodar Rishonim made a rule. That's all. You can argue on the rules. Okay. Good. I'm not arguing. I'm taking after them. Umeochei alfina. From here we learn. The Odom yochoi lechayev atzmo. A man can obligate himself. This is really the kasha. I jumped the void. So really, the second kasha, guys, is really a completion of the first kasha. Really, both together is really the bottom kasha, and we have to go back to the Rishonim and really understand it. Again, the second kasha. The be'ore by a guarantor, afilu b'lo ano mishtab, a guarantor even without any pleasure, he obligates himself. Here we learn. When a person can obligate himself with words, I'm adding the word with words, but what is unobligated? Like an olive obligate himself. The Rambam says, if somebody goes to court and he tells the court, listen, I owe this guy money, and he knows he doesn't owe it, the receiver knows he doesn't own it, the Beis knows he doesn't owe it, but he said it. The Rambam says he's obligated to pay like an olive obligates himself with words. And where do we learn it from? From our Gemara. It says olive can obligate himself without pleasure, with words. You can obligate yourself without pleasure with words alone. So therefore he says, ubeduchte tuve in many places is brought down. So why did the Gemara say pleasure? It says you got a mistake. You know why the Gemara used pleasure? And this really, we have to come back to the Gita to see what he's saying. The reason of pleasure was needed by a guarantor, without pleasure, that he was believed, only in olive in court, or not in the time of the lending. What is he saying? What is he saying like this? He's saying, if you look carefully in the Gemara, in Kuf Ein Gimel says like this. We have a contradiction between the concept of a guarantee and the concept of a smachta. I learned with the boys before. I want people to help here to transfer what I'm saying. We have a contradiction in concepts. This is the Gemara's kasha. Ameimar and Ravashi agree to it. We have one concept, a guarantor. He says, lend the guy money on a guarantor. It works. And we know that halakha is like Rabbi Yehuda, that if I say, I'm obligating myself if that happened, it's called asmachta. I rely that if I obligate myself in a way that I rely that my obligation will not come to fruition, that's called asmachta. I rely. Asmachta is like somech. I lean on something. I rely. And rely on what? I rely that my obligation will not come to fruition. That's called asmachta. That doesn't work. Because I didn't really mean with a full heart to obligate myself. So the Gemara says we have a contradiction in two concepts. In one way we know that halakha is asmachta loikanya. If I rely that my obligation will not come to fruition, it doesn't acquire, which means I didn't obligate myself really. That's the halacha, like Rabbi Yehuda. And yet we have not ma'asim b'chol yoyim. Every day we know guarantor works. A guarantor is exactly asmachta. I guarantee his loan. Means if he doesn't pay, I'll pay. I really meant that my obligation will not come to fruition. Because really the guy will pay. And I told the guy, listen, I'm signing for you, but pay it. I have no money to pay it. All day long. Don't worry, you're not going to pay it. Don't worry. Okay, I won't worry. I'm signed. What do you mean? So really, it's an asmachta. That's the most kasha. And that Ravashi answers, no. And this is really the point that I want to say today in this year. This is the Kiddush of today. I want to explain this concept, explain the Yeshua's kasha, and how to solve it by all the Rishon. Listen carefully, Rabbi Hashem. So the Gemara says, you know how I bypassed the concept of every guarantor to asmachta that he really relied. He didn't obligate himself with a full heart because he relied, asmachta, he relied that it wouldn't come to fruition because he gets pleasure. The fact that he got pleasure, Rabbi Yoshua, which pleasure he got? Of sleeping? No. He got pleasure that the person relied on him, that he risked his money upon his words. And that's worth a pruta. So that's what he got. So let's see the Rashbam in Kufa and Gimel inside. No, I'm sorry. First I want to wrap the question and then we'll see that, because then we'll speed the people up. So comes the Bnei Yeshua and he asks, let's wrap up the question. The Bnei Yeshua is asking a question, a very simple question. He says, in any way I turn the dice, I'm stuck. Why? Because the Ritva says, you know how I can marry this woman? You know how a guarantor obligates himself with pleasure. Says, if it's pleasure, I don't need to come to Olive. And if I do want to come to Olive doesn't need pleasure to obligate himself. The only reason he needs pleasure is to remove asmachta. But really, let's say a guarantor without asmachta, Olive Kaplan, a guarantor that there's no asmachta, like here. What happened here? This is the Yura Menashe. Where's the Menashe? Our case. Listen to this. The woman or the guarantor says, give the money, give this guy a gift. That's mostly short, besides the gift. Says, give this guy a gift, and I'm guaranteeing what? Then, it's not a doubt if the guy's not going to pay, I'm guaranteeing. Where is it guaranteed to be married?
What can you guarantee on a gift?
So wait a second. Wait, I want to explain. If I say, give this guy a gift, and then what? And I'm saying, I will do something for you.
Do something for you, like marriage.
I'm married. So now, that's our case. Here, the pleasure is not, the exchange of the pleasure is not in a doubt, because it's not a question if the guy doesn't pay, then I'm becoming a guarantor, and you want to exchange a guarantee for marriage. Like the Bnei Yeshua will see later on. It's not a question of that. He says, give this guy money, and not risk your money, lose your money, and by losing the money, you rely on me to lose your money, and my words. And you rely on me. Then what? That you did that for me. You did that for me. I got a pleasure. I didn't get a doubtful pleasure. It's a for sure pleasure. It's not a doubt.
What's the loss?
The loss is not in a doubt.
So what? What got lost? What's the possibility that who got lost?
By a loan, it's a doubt if it'll get lost or not. So if it gets lost, I'm obligating myself. So I never really meant to obligate myself because I didn't think it will get lost. I think the guy will pay the money. So that is a smart. That's when we need pleasure. But when this for sure loss, so I need to give an exchange something right now. I'm obligating myself on for sure loss, not a doubt. So I really meant to obligate myself to what? For marriage or whatever it is. So it's a vada. It's not an asmachta. Say here I don't need the pleasure. Here I got maybe the whole pleasure of the usage, whatever the other Rishonim explain. So, but what does the Bnei Yeshua's kasha is? When we need concepts of pleasure, is only to remove a smachta. But when I don't have a smachta, I can have myself with words alone. With word alone, like the Gemara Choshedishpat says. Somebody goes to Beis and he says, I lend this guy money. It's not true, I never lent him the money. I know the borrower, the lender, the borrower, the witnesses, the court, everybody knows I don't owe it. I said in that language. I can obligate myself with words alone. I don't need a kinyan, it's not a smachta, it's a for sure fact. Look at Exois Kuf Chavtes, he explains very well this concept. So now, this is the fact. It's a fact. Kuf Chavtes next to me. It's a fact. So then, it's not an asmachta, I can obligate myself with words. But when it's most likely will never come to fruition, so I wasn't serious in my obligation, my signature, or my obligation, so then in order to make it serious, you need pleasure. So comes up Bnei Yeshua and he says, what's going on? Pleasure, it's all of a shas, it's nothing to do with Orev. And Orev was words alone. And a woman he cannot marry with words. Maybe a Orev he can obligate with words, but not with a woman. Must be here with words he obligated myself, and I changed that the obligation to money and to anos, bechilas milva instead of milva. That's the Bnei Yeshua's salvation. That's what he's saying. That's the route of the Yeshua. But for us, what's important for us, that the kasha of the Yeshua is really a kasha on all the Rishonim. And the Ritva, and the Rashba, and the Rabban, and the Ran, and all the Rishonim. All the Rambam. All the Rishonim learn that the marriage here works through pleasure. Whatever the pleasure is. This way, that, and we'll see the Machnefine next week. And other ways to explain the Chazon Ish, how he defines his pleasure. But which means he gave her pleasure. At the time of the giving of the money, he gave her something. And with that gift, she got married. He says, if that gift is pleasure, don't do it orev. And don't do guarantor. There's nothing to do with guaranteeing anything. Right? There's nothing to do with a guarantor.
That's the first.
And not only that, a guarantor can obligate with words without any pleasure. The only reason he needs pleasure to remove a smach. So what's going on here in the Rishon? So, yes. Yes, who's speaking?
The of Arad is absent in the right?
No, that's the point. The ano is only a way to remove a problem. If you for sure, if when you speak, you know that your words are serious, and then you get yourself into trouble. So when you speak, you're serious. But when your words are not serious, he said, if he doesn't pay, I pay. So you really think that he's never going to pay?
How do we know Arad is serious?
Every Yorev is asmachta. Because there's the E. If he doesn't pay, I pay. So then, since every Yorev, normal Yorev, it's asmachta. So the Ravashi says, not a problem. I remove asmachta by there's a pleasure.
Well, the lender wouldn't agree to such a thing if he knew that. If that's the road, that makes sense.
The lender wouldn't agree to what?
To take him as an orev if he knows he's never. Well, why would he lend to take him? That makes sense.
Right.
And if Roe, you say Roe is
Very good. You're right. You're right. Lenders will not take a guarantee if they knew the guarantee was not serious. But every guarantor thinks that it's not serious.
Okay,
That's the true
what
reality.
about the lender?
But yeah, so that's the true reality. If you never went on both sides. What?
But if you're serious, when you're talking in the sugya, in the
sugya masmachta, that's the Gemara's kasha. Look in the Gemara in Rabasa. It's in the page here. I quote in more Rabasa below.
No, it's true, but the lender's not going to.
Omar le Ravashi. The list is 2, 4, 6 lines on the bottom of the Gemara Botzer. Omar le Ravashi. You have the Gemara Botzer? I just want to read the end of it. Look inside, please. Gemara Botzer. Everyone has it. You have it? Rabbi Yoshua, you have it? No, in the page, it's printed in Botzer, the last 5 lines. 2, 4, 6 lines on the bottom. Omar le Ravashi la meima. Ha'maisi b'chol yoy, actions of every day, da asmachta lo ikanya. That asmachta doesn't work. Rashi says, Ainu asmachta. Im lo yifra lecho ani yashalem lecho. If he doesn't pay, I'll pay you. V'kol di'i av asmachta. Anything which is if, it's an asmachta. Why? Soymech ubatuach. He rely and he's sure, believe in his heart, shaloi nifrenu, that the borrower will pay it back. V'ilo hayodeh, had the guarantor knew, shaloi yifra aloy, that this borrower is a bum, he's not going to pay it back. Lo yinichnas ba'avos will never enter to guarantee. You're not going to pay for this guy. You're willing to guarantee, but not to pay. Take money as a tzedakah. You're not doing that. So really, in your heart, you rely that you're not going to come to that. So that's Ravashi's point. That's our main maskash. Maisi b'chol yoy masmach lo kanyo. V'olo mishtabed. We know both are true. Both concepts are true. So how do we solve it? So Ravashi answers. And listen carefully how the Rashbam explains the answer. And I think this is the key of solution. Also, you enjoy this, Rabbi Yosef. After this, it will be easy to sign guarantor. You can convince others to do it. Listen carefully. Ravashi. Ravashi says, Ba'u without pleasure, the kamehei maleh, that he's believed, Gomar, he concludes, umeshabed nafshi, he obligates himself. What does that mean? What happened here? You know why a guarantor works, because although a guarantor is if he doesn't pay, and I knew he wouldn't pay, I wouldn't enter the story, but you got pleasure. So let's see how Rashbam answers. Gomar umeshabed nafshi. He concludes and he obligates himself. The last 2 lines of the Rashbam on the left. There's a line below. Look inside, Moshe. You know how to read Hebrew? You know how to read Hebrew? Show him where is it. The last 2 lines of the Rashbam. in Bo Basar, the left side. The last two lines of the page, the left side. Goma u'meshaber, look in the Rashba. Belev sholem, with a complete heart. V'shlichusei de'orev kovin malveh. The lender is a messenger of the guarantor. Ki'ilu o atzmo ilva, as if he lent himself. Rashi says, with a full heart. Here, the Rashbam gave us a very, very big secret. Very, very big secret. And I think the secret is also, the Ritva there says the same thing. Open the Ritva, you have the Ritva here printed. I gave you the second Ritva in Kuf Ein Bet, on the same Gemara, the Ritva says, without pleasure that he believed in me, I concluded to obligate my soul. Pirush, myself. Pirush. Meshal ben nafshe, you obligate yourself. Listen to this, Reb Shloime, Yeshpo, Sod Gadol, is a big secret. Listen to Reb Yisrael. Pirush, Meshal ben nafshe, he obligated himself. Ki was if kibel amoes mamesh, as if he received the entire amount of money. Let tovosoy for his benefit. And this is the next 6 words, I think, is the secret of the whole story. Velo yokoines atzmoy b'shum dovo. He will not, he knows the word kones, who knows the word kones? He will not penalty himself with anything. Fine, penalty. Shein ba smachta, there's no smachta. The Ritva revealed to us the secret of all the sugya. And this solves the Yeshua's kasha, and it gives it a great explanation. The Ritva. I want to explain this. Okay? This is Reb Shmuel. Reb Shmuel, you asked the question. Rabbi Shmuel, right? Every guarantor knows, I'd rather not even be the story. He finds himself. Right? I'd rather get out of this problem. Okay, I'm stuck as a mitzvah. Mitzvah, I didn't send my money. Okay, I'm risking a big sum of money. He needs to buy a house. The guy, I can't pay it. You know, I need it for my children, even my needs. My life is first. Okay. I signed as a guarantor. I really think that I never got to that. I'll never get to that reality. So then is asmach, there's another sholem. Rashi says, no. It is b'shlem sholem. Why? Because you got pleasure. So comes Reb Shmuel and says, in the midst of this wondrous storm of emotions, that I'm stuck with this guy to sign on Hebrews, you gave me small, light pleasure. Shkoya. Yes, shkoya. You know what? How much this pleasure is worth? Puta. I'm guaranteed for puta. Why I should find myself for the entire money? This is what the Ritva has a solution. Let's read it again now. Now that we know this concept, let's read what the Ritva, the Rashbam and the Ritva are saying. Let's read it again. Gomar u'mishtaber, reading the Rashbam again, 2 lines on the bottom. Gomar u'mishtaber, he concludes in his heart and he wants to obligate himself. Belev sholem, with a complete heart, is not a smachta. What do you mean? I got a little pleasure, is a full heart? I'd rather get out of the problem. I wouldn't even be guaranteed. I'm stuck. So good, he relied on me. I feel good about it. But I feel good about it, therefore I want to pay. And when it comes to reality, the full amount, it's worth it? No, Rashi says yes. Rashbam says, Belev sholem, with a full heart. I mean, why? The lender becomes a messenger of the guarantor. Ki'ilu hu'ilva. Why the Rashbam has to come on to this concept of, when I read this Rashbam many years and many times, I couldn't figure out why the Rashbam has to add. Just say, simple like the Ritva was saying, you receive the pleasure, without you pleasure, you obligate yourself. Why the Rashbam has to add that the lender becomes a messenger of the guarantor? The lender becomes a messenger of the guarantor, and as if the guarantor received the money, he gave it to the messenger, to the lender, to lend it to the borrower. So as if he got the money. We have to comment on that. And also the Ritva. Ritva says there, Baba Basre, you got the benefit of all the money. That's the Loshen. As if he received the benefit of all the money, not pruta, like he says in our sugya. He benefit all the value of the money. What do you have to come into that? What do you mean? Because he gave upon your words, I got pleasure all the work? Because he wants to bypass the problem of a knas. Why should I fine myself? It's a fine. This is the point. This is really the point. He says, you know why? She'ein ba asmachta, there's no asmachta anymore. When I say I'm a guarantor, I really can divide two things what happened here. I got a pleasure of one pruta. He lended, says, lend him $1,000, $100,000. Okay? So now, I'm the guarantor. I receive a pleasure of a small amount that you listen to me. Upon my words, and lend the money. It's not $100,000 worth of pleasure, but it's worth pleasure of a pruta, of a $10, $100. It's worth something. Okay. Good. So, but really I meant to obligate myself if he doesn't pay for the whole $100,000. I never meant to that. If otherwise I wouldn't enter the arevus. And I'm stuck with it. I'd rather run away even now. What can I do? Says no. Since for the small amount you get pleasure, and now you got tit for tat, you got pleasure, means there is a real binding, at least for that pruto. So then, for that pruto, your words are real. So then what do we see? The Torah. The Torah says what happens here. Because of that pruto, the Torah allows herself to say that really for the entire usage of the money, he's your messenger. Or he gave it for your benefit because of your words, as if like a messenger of yours. Like all the Rishonim, he explained the Rashba, the Ramah, and everybody else. And they read for himself there, Botzer explains. So that's why he's willing to find himself for all the rest. Because once, a little bit, for one point, for one pruta, for one value, is not a smacht anymore. So then I say, is belef sholem for the whole. How? Because belef sholem for the whole? Because I perceive it as if I enjoy the entire money. If I enjoy right now the entire money, it's not all of us smacht. It's a kablonus. I receive all the money. Okay? So the reason why we need both is the siba moireres, why the Torah allowed herself to consider this guy really wants to run away from this signing. He's not happy with it. He's stuck with it. Rather, it's a pain in the neck. It's a thorn in his throat. He never even wanted to get to the position. Wait a second. But you got pleasure? This is an island. On that island we jump. He said, oh, since you got pleasure, so then really you did a belef sholem. What do you mean belef sholem? Only for that pleasure, not for the rest. No, you find yourself. It's a fine. You find yourself for the whole thing because the Torah looks that he's your messenger. So really, you obligate yourself right now. You received everything right now, so you can run away from it. Wait a second. To put myself, I just want to say, to put myself in a position that I really got it, I rather not. I rather says if he doesn't pay, I pay. So I don't really want to put myself that he's my messenger. I'll never put myself in that position because I'm stuck with it. I never really wanted. I never meant when he lends the money, really I borrowed it and it is my messenger to lend. I never want I should put myself in this business. It's a pain in my neck. But because you have a pleasure of a pruto, of what? That he listened to your words. The Torah says, you know what happened here? You did belef sholem what? Not that you obligated yourself belef sholem. You appointed him as a shliach, so he got everything. So if you got everything, you got everything. So it's a real obligation. You got everything. You need to pay. So why? The bottom line, why an Orev needs to pay? There's the siba moireres and siba mekayemes. I would love to use those words of the Ramchal. The siba moireres is the pleasure. The siba mekayemes is that you got the entire value of the whole pruta because you made him a shliach. Or the Torah made him as if a shliach, or it was given for you, but you got it all.
Of the pruta or
of the whole loan.
Oh, you said
The whole loan. The siba moireres, yes. Yes. Right.
What is that he's Neman? The fact that he's Neman, that is the Shiva. He's Neman, so now, okay.
Shiva to do what?
You believe me.
Shiva to do what?
Do whatever you're doing, you believe
No,
me.
Shiva is Abba Shabbat said that you can be my messenger.
Right. Why? Because you're believing me to do what you do. If you're believing me, then I am allowing you to do on me what you do. Whatever you do.
Whatever you do. Even though it's a fine. I'm putting myself to a big fine. But we don't care. This is a very big new understanding here. So Mimele, what's the kasha? Let's go back to the kasha Pnei Yoshua. Guys, let's go to the Pnei Yoshua's kasha. Let's get the fire here today. The Yeshua's kasha is, what's the chiddush, what's going on? If it's pleasure, I don't need to come to Orev. And if it's Orev is with words alone. Only by asmachta you need pleasure. He says, you're right. But I'm learning from Orev that what? That from the fact I got one pruta, by an Orev, the fact I get one pruta, then what? It's not asmachta anymore. And therefore, I agree to whatever you do on my behalf.
When the Rebbe is just getting married with the fruit, when you have to come on to more than...
You don't have to come on. That's what the Rito doesn't say more. But he agrees there's more. And I'll tell you when. If the guy gave a gift, there's more. The guy gave a loan, there's only a pruta. This is my shtickle in my book. That's what I explained. That's my next one. I wanted to explain it. But what?
He's getting married when the Rebbe with the fruit.
I'm saying no. The Rito really agrees that he can get married with the whole value of the money. But depends what the guy did with the money. If he gave it away as a gift, so he can say the entire money was what? For my usage. But if he gave it a loan, what usage he got? Usage of using the money, going to pay back the money. And it comes out to the sugya previously, that usage of the money, if there's no money paying, you cannot do Kiddushin with. That's the Rambam and Rabbeinu Hanan. I'll explain next week in length. Okay, there's the price. So, but Lemaise, I'm saying even that's why the Rito used it, but really by our case, which all the Rishonim say, the Rito will agree that, like he says in Baba Basa, that he says in Baba Basa that what? That the Siba Moire is the Pruto. But Lemaise, since he gave it as a gift away, so then he made him as a messenger to do what? That he lent me the money. That's by borrower, that's by guarantor. Here you need to, you cannot marry a woman with a loan. You have to marry with usage of the money. So if he gave us a gift, it's usage of the money. If he gave it a loan, it doesn't work. That's why you have to only stay with the pruta. But when he doesn't give it as a loan, I'll explain it length next week, he just gives it as a gift. There definitely the Ritva says, I can marry, not with a Siba Moireres, there's more. I can marry with the entire money. You understand? Because he gave it upon her for her benefit, her messenger. Like Orev. So now we understand what we need the Orev for. So let's go back. What was the Pnei Yeshua's kasha, and what are we saying the Ritva's answer to? All of these things answer. The Ritva's kasha was, what's going on? I mean the Pnei Yeshua's kasha. The Yeshua's kasha was, with what I'm marrying the woman. With what I'm marrying the woman with. If I marry her with the pleasure alone, that he relied on her to risk the money or lose the money. So then, if it's only a pleasure, you don't have to come into guarantor. Guarantor can obligate with words. Elamai, a guarantor with words. You cannot marry with words. You can be a guarantor with, but not marriage. Elamai, she's a guarantor with words, and she exchanged a guarantor with that I forgive you the guarantor and you marry me. So that's milveh. Unless you say I'm not smechilas milveh, that's something Yeshua's pshat. But he's saying no. He's saying no. The Ritva learns he's marrying her right when he gives the money. He says, I'm giving you the pleasure. What? Of the whole value of the money? Or pruta. So if he gives a loan as a pruta, but by giving a gift, he definitely can say the Siba Moireres by Orev is a pruta that you rely on me. But then he does with a full heart and he says, whatever you do, it's my agreement. So you're my messenger. You do zechiyah for me, l'toivasi. And as if I got a usage of the entire money, gufa. So by a gift, he got the full money, the full value of the money. That's all. That's the Ritva Bas. Okay. Okay, we'll stop here. Next week, I want everyone, Bezrat Hashem. I want everyone to learn all the ritvos. I'm saying a Musar Shmuz. And I want everyone to next week to learn all the ritvos inside. Machne Ephraim and the Chazon Ish. The main thing is the Chazon Ish. Chazon Ish has a whole understanding here, how to understand this concept of money in details. He talks about it in concept, how does it work. He goes in more details in all the ritvos, and I'll go exactly how it works. Okay. My